And folks, welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today is the day of elemental fire. Yes, we've gone through two of the classical elements, earth and air, in previous days, but today we're going to talk about today, the day of elemental fire, and how it can fit into your tabletop role playing experience. Um, Gather your food, drink, maybe a pen and pencil, or your Google Doc or whatever note taking you may have, or just sit back and relax, listen in, or join in live 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time as we go live on YouTube and Twitch, and join in this world building podcast where we use a prompt for the day of. So after the just as abruptly as our intro cuts off, so too in during the day of elemental fire, could there be a transformation, a repositioning, a changing of the dynamics on this day for your adventurers when this day happens upon them? Now, um, as we've been talking about traveling into the different elemental planes of existence and how they get there and or why, the this day of could be well known in a particular region, whether it's festivals, celebrations, honorifics. It could be something very joyous, or something like a farmer's almanac where the population gathers together and gives honor, or they need protection from, or to garner some information or blessings to survive such a day. And classically in our D20 tabletop role playing experience and fantasy experiences, we know that the the four classic elements, earth, air, fire, and water, and so many other planes of existence come together into the prime material plane to make it what it is. But on this day, is it possible that through the beseeching of humanity, that the elements do come together? Or maybe on this particular day, one rises with great power and influence for far more than the others? Or is it a day when the membranes between the worlds, which is I think where we're going to head today, becomes so thin that simply traveling or stepping or wishing even for great uh, brave or well prepared travelers to go from one place to another to gain some kind of resource or knowledge or power to bring back into the prime material plane? And um, much like the other elemental locations, of course, the plane of fire bumps up against the other elements so that there will be, physical earthen land to walk upon. There may be pockets of moisture when traveling into the plane of fire, meaning like there may be steam vents or steam, mist, boiling pockets of water. What strange rivers there would be that literally would boil flesh from bone or something of that nature, and including air as well, air to fuel that fire with smoke and mist and things of that nature. And of course, we can describe this in any kind of manner. Liquid rivers of fire, thermals, and all that kind of stuff. Very much, we can often think of this as our classic hellscape of sorts, where the plane of fire probably parallel. You probably may not even understand that whether you're on the plane of fire or maybe down in the abyss or the nine hells or something like that. Okay, well, thank you. Well, I appreciate one of our co-hosts being here. Thank you, Drew. I'm sorry that you have migraines. Migraines are horrible. But glad you could stop by. Maybe this will alleviate you of my dulcet tones, putting thee to sleep. If although it's a little later for you than it is for me here when it's so early in the morning. Um, the other thing I what I love about using the elemental planes, or actually any plane of existence, is it gives us a lot of prompts to reflavor and repurpose the classic things we already have. I mean, if we take our usual goblinoids and flavor them with fire and flame and heat and such, and if we take, which I didn't really go into with the other elemental planes. We don't need to only flavor them physically, but we can flavor them socially and emotionally as well. So much like Earth could be viewed as very stoic, um, ponderous, um, deliberate, unmoving. In the plane of fire, there's a lot of yeah, yeah. It's like, I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what if they bring power, change, could be destruction or rebirth, much like the phoenix rising from the ashes. It could be viewed as a time of cleansing, or anger, youthful exuberance. So that fire itself may be something that the population would prefer to have in terms of a celebratory nature, that maybe socially the community has become stagnant, or even falling into a downward spiral of cold, no new blood, no new ideas, and this day of fire comes about. Now, more on a social level, we understand that slash and burning is a real thing that ancient peoples have done for a very long time, where they burn through old foliage, or once harvested crops, and then the burning creates uh, destroys the biological matter, and then it can then be used and turned and overturned into the soil to create a greater harvest for next time. And for visitors or a different population, they may not understand that, or they don't want the land to be burned in the first place, much like here in the States and in Canada, where wildfires are a commonality, and yet we have parts of our population moving into places where that burning needs to happen naturally, but now people are living there, and they may not want that it would be very difficult to convince maybe a nobility that has started construction on their great fort spreading out of their city state, and then the local druids are coming by knocking on the door, and it's like, I don't know if you remember, but we had a conversation about how we need to burn all this land off. And there's like we remember the conversation, we just chose to ignore you. But also, the origins of many of these things, it's the elemental genasi as an option for a player character choice. Some have even, excuse me, cat hair. Some have even suggested that some of our very common, um, dare I say, classic racial choices, biological choices, lineage choices that we have in our fantasy gaming are related to the elements. That dwarves are very earth-like, and maybe elves are very air-like. But I wonder what would be fire. Fire would probably be half orcs and orcs, of that nature, fiery in nature, and opinions and whatnot. Also, fire also needs fuel and oxygen. And if the players go into the plane of fire, or bring something back, or there's some kind of crossing of the barriers. It could be that the plane of fire only exists by getting agents from the prime material plane from other realms to open up portals to allow the fuel to come back in to the plane of fire to keep it burning like it is. Also, yesterday, I got extremely I was given a lot of creative fuel when the idea that the negative plane of energy, which when it bumps up against the other elements, creates a different realm, and one of those is vacuum. And I'm just picturing this black, like a black hole of sorts, or a vortex of air, of when the plane of air is just being sucked into the negative plane, and in between is this like vortex vacuum, almost like explosive decompression, but happening over a millennium. The same could be said for the plane of fire when seen from the plane of air, where it looks like a big glowing sun or something like that. And a plane of fire bordering on these other planes might be fueled um, by the other planes of existence, elemental planes coming into the plane of fire or bumping against it. And I can very much imagine that agents of the plane of fire would be in trying to invade everything else, using it as fuel, right? Like, of course, we're going to step out and engage into the other areas. This may be a day where maybe there's only a limited number of elemental uh, fire elementals that are able to exist outside of the plane. And today's the day where we get where the wizards are like, "Ooh, cool, summoning's great. We get to call them up for us, for our use for them," um, and so many other issues. I didn't go into too many character missions um, during the plane of air, but I think in a plane of fire, the idea of a fire and a forge would be great. I mean, can you imagine a blacksmith that must alight um, their forge with fire that it burns eternally? It could have like a a dark nature to it. Maybe it's a purple flame or something like that, or a flame as bright as the sun. And they finally built their forge from stone gathered from the deepest parts of the plane of earth. But now they have to alight their forge and to, of course, forge weapons and ore and things of that nature, melt the metals, but they need that fire. I could imagine dragons, ancient red dragons, crimson in color, scarlet in their scales, knowing that at a certain age for the dragons to almost ascend to deific status, that they can consume or even instead of breathing out fire, they breathe it in from the plane of fire to fill their body, their lungs with a flame so pure that it can, melt mountainsides or something like that. Ann Voom says, on the day of elemental fire, the portal to the city of brass are accessible by any mortal, yet on a single day. And maybe because much like the other planes we talked about, maybe on a day of fire, you won't just instantly burn up into a cinder. Maybe it's just extremely hot, and that water skin you thought was going to last you like a week isn't really. Maybe this is the one day that the dangers of going into the plane of fire are possible. Now, the city of brass is one of these things. I know it's been city of brass. I know the city of brass has been detailed, and it actually exists well outside of our gaming experience. Although, mu- simply because it's what is the story of the city of brass? It looks like there's someone has written a novel. Um, the book begins in 18th century Cairo and follows Nari, a talented orphan con woman who uses palm reading and sleight of hand to swindle Ottoman nobles and has healing powers. During an exorcism, she accidentally summons a Jin warrior named oh, Dara for short, Dara Yavash E Afshin. Dara for sure. And that happens to just be a novel. Um, City of Brass. But it's been detailed, if I'm not mistaken, in mythology long before fantasy has come upon it. And I wonder if the City of Brass is how do I say this? I wonder if the City of Brass is a we think it's one location. I'm trying to sorry, my mind is coming with a lot of ideas. One is maybe humanity thinks the City of Brass is one place, that there is a single city, maybe in the plane of fire, like a cauldron of sorts, or a brazier. The City of Brass is like the forge, the location where the fire is then harnessed through society. And this City of Brass isn't quite small, but is almost we call it a city, maybe because of its walls, its metallic walls and such, but really it's probably almost like a megalopolis in of its own right. Or maybe it really isn't just one city, it's a bunch of cities that are made of brass. And the idea is that there's a number of warlords and fiery personalities. The the uh, the leadership of the various cities of brass all think that their city of brass is the one, and player characters come upon the city of brass and they're like, oh, this must be the only one. And whatever warlord or something that controls it, Ifrit or whatever, is like, yeah, of course, it's the only city because I'm the one, even though there's dozens of ones vying for control and such. I could also imagine that when I heathen, woohoo, the City of Brass could also be thought of as the place where all of our various divergent fiery personality beings, like dragons, devils and demons, Ifrit, fire giants, hellhounds, and all these things all come together, maybe as a treaty or as a council of sorts. What a great way to combine, have strange bedfellows all together, like a council of crime lords in many ways. That the plane of fire doesn't have a deity of sorts, or maybe collectively, uh, the power of the greatest of the fire giants, the greatest of the dragons, the greatest of the devils and demons and such, the Ifrit, all combined together, create a type of uh, a deific council that, when wizards and things or druids or something summon this fire from them, these are the ones that control access to it. Or maybe the plane of fire has never really had a leadership at all. Maybe it's like a power source, and it's been under contention for millennium. There's never been anyone, including from the gods, that have been able to dominate such a region. And the player characters find out, like, no, there is no one leader. It's just it's constant turmoil, as the up and coming fuel the flames of rebellion and things of that nature, which would be pretty interesting for, like, in I'm going to do air quotes, in a good way. Maybe um, the plane of fire does again rejuvenate or bring influence to social reality, of like, we need new blood, we need new energy, we can't keep doing what we're doing. And maybe there are agents of the plane of fire that come into the prime material plane. The player characters may be needing to rescue someone or convince a great power to come out of the plane of fire, or the players are there to, much like summoning an elemental, but making it an adventure of such a thing, to go to the place to find something that might be kind of dangerous but necessary for the the destruction or transformation, in many ways, the clearing of the ground to bring new blood to a world that's been dominated. Maybe the prime material plane has been dominated by totalitarianism and dictatorships and a police state, and the players are like, we've got one opportunity here to burn this place down and start anew, and the players are tasked with doing this thing. Again, with the going with the blacksmith and the forging of a thing, it's possible that the last place to go would be the plane of fire once the players have gathered together something like um, an adamantine block that weighs a few tons, and there's no way to break it, no way to melt it unless they drag it into the plane of fire and have to let it melt into the forges that exist there. There could be fire pits that are fueled by um, materials or energies, or hell, even the souls of people um, that are brought here, who are then reborn into something else. Um, I'm trying to think of giving it a different flavor than like the pits of hell, right? If the plane of fire is nothing more than a fuel source of sorts, one of the most powerful fuel sources, the fuel source of the universe, maybe this fire is more than just it's far more than just flame, but it is the energized spirit to maybe bring to life golems, stone and iron golems to give them life into this world. Or maybe the when we think of dead spirits and the undead and things of that nature, if we combine them, or maybe the elements are also a place for humanoid, um, sentient spirits to go to. Maybe this is the place where, instead of having your undead just be like, zombies and skeletons, like, oh, just walk around, maybe this is the place where someone, uh, one or more people have passed on, but they're energized. Like you were like, I haven't finished, and when they come back to the prime material plane, when their spirit goes into an artificial body or goes back into the human body, there's a flame in the eyes. There is a power in them. Like they aren't mindless, but they are filled with a rage and a desire to do things. Like, instead of coming back as skeletons and zombies, they come back as wraiths or whites or ghosts of sorts. I can also imagine that on the plane of fire, the the life cycle of different entities may be something that happens over and over again, much like the phoenix, right? So, um, at one point, something is a being is a pillar of flame that the players can gain some knowledge from, but maybe their fire starting to burn out, and now they're just nothing but a plume of smoke, the golden eyes in it, maybe fading away and such, needing to get fuel to go on. And then maybe after that, they're nothing but um, a cloud of ash swirling around, barely hearing their voice, for that ash to seem to disappear onto the thermal winds of fire rising above the plane. I'm assuming the plane could be flat. Doesn't have to be. It could just be like walking on the sun. Um, and then that ash then suddenly falling back down for that person to then alight again to become a pillar of flame. Uh, Flames don't necessarily have to be red and orange. We've seen blue flames from gases, um, and things of that nature. When flames alight certain things on fire, it could change their colors as well. Um, so you could also have factions within the plane of fire, so that there's a one faction could have an agenda that is very long in their thoughts, at least as concerning the plane of fire. So their fire might be low and simmering, whereas there might be others that are gouts of flame that are very immediate, maybe even more classically horde like, barbarian berserker like, where they're just they burn bright but don't last very long. And then there may be other types of, maybe there's a difference between heat and flame. So on the plane of fire, when I talk about ghosts and specters and uh, non-corporal banshees, things that don't have a corporal body to them, maybe they are heat waves and thermals and things of that nature. Kind of have to squint to see them, but when you see them, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. Heck, you could even recontextualize what a shadow is, or maybe there are when humanoids or other beings go onto the plane of fire, the light cast on them can create shadows, and that's the only possible way for the shadows to maybe get the hell out of here. Um, um, Thinking of the plane of fire in more than two dimensions instead of a flat plane of like Earth with gouts of flame and such. If we think of it in three dimensions, especially thinking of the city of brass, maybe from afar, the city of brass looks like these burning um, braziers, like the brass plates or bowls, very wide and shallow, and seeming to hang by big chains from a a ceiling that can't be seen. But when you get closer, you realize that these big brass bowls of different sizes, held at different heights, are actually, each of them is the size of a small country or a nation or a city state or something. And there are chains that reach up into the stratosphere, not seen in the darkness, with smoke floating above, uh, something like that. Of course, we have to have hazards. There's going to be lots of people on fire, um, falling into different places. Even the separation of walls may not have walls. Instead, the dungeon itself might just be walls of fire that the players need to maneuver around. Maybe being able to see, like Anne mentions about this, the only time on the day of elemental fire, the portal to the city of brass are accessible by any mortal. Maybe the gift to be able to survive is very limited. And so everyone knows the clock is ticking as they don the medallion or the pin, or they are touched upon the forehead, or they layer on their skin a special salve or something that allows them to survive in this great heat. Maybe they are given a cloak of, I don't know, uh, enchanted brass or iron or copper or something like that, that just so happens to hold the heat off. It could be something opposite. Maybe there's something frost related or cold that the players wear that allows them and other mortals to allow them to go to this place. It could also be, we love to have ourselves a population that likes to give sacrifices for volcanic gods and things of that nature. Maybe those sacrifices fall into those volcanoes or burned at the stake or whatever, and this is the place they go. And those individuals that were killed in flame, whose lives still go on, maybe here this is where they become powerful entities like Jinn or elementals or given sentience, or what's I'm trying to think of other flame things. Salamanders, Azir, uh, steam and magma methods, whatever. So many of these things. Maybe this is they humanity or sentient beings that are killed in that manner or consumed in that manner. It would be pretty interesting to find out that all those fireballs being cast and that killed all those goblins. Yeah, those goblins are still around. They just happen to exist here. Um, Voom says, or when the portal is opened, it is the hunting season for lesser Ifrit to hunt for mortal slaves, scorching entire villages. Call to action. Hell's yeah. Being the Ifrit coming out, of course, the Ifriti that come out, you have to kill a bunch of them, let the people know that I'm in charge, right? If I'm a low level Ifrit, kill a bunch of them. Don't listen. All that rebellion thing you were thinking in your head, now I'm here to burn you with just a thought. And oh, the rest of you that have just bowed down to me, you're coming with me to the slave pits, right? To to um to get those forges, or maybe okay. We know we think of Jin and Ifrit to have wish powers. But often those wish powers, they don't have the ability to grant a wish. It's other people who go to beseech them to gain a wish. What if the slaves are needed in the city of brass to keep to churn the fires to keep them going? Maybe the plane of fire again needs fuel, and it is the enslaved that keep the furnaces going, to keep the air flowing in, to bring the I don't know what major thing you could bring into the plane of fire that would keep it fueled other than oxygen. You need something flammable, some kind of consumable or something like that. But yeah, maybe they brought there. Maybe the plane of fire is actually kind of going out, and if it wasn't for the machinations of these king-like beings that are like the Afriti, and of course we absolutely positively need to reflame. I mean, reflame, reflavor, repurpose, reuse, redescribe them, so they don't all need to be fang-mouthed. Let me see. Let's get some images here. They don't all need to look the same, right? Afriti. Let's get some images. So, male, female, tall, short, rotund, that kind of thing. So let's get some. Let's see if we can find some images and throw them up here, and see if we can come up with some ideas and maybe even some better ideas than they have. Of course, you have to have like flaming flaming hair, surrounded in a corona of flame or something like that. There's a young lady, 3D monsters, female. We have the classic Persian styled, where the term jinn and ifrit come from. But I would dare say, just rename them, reskin them, because it always comes across as like very demonic in nature. I would want to know. Uh, I would like to see something that doesn't make them evil so much as I am not going down a Pinterest Pinterest hole here. There's a. Let's see if we can find this. There's a classic Ifrit that was used on the cover of the old classic Dungeons and Dragons book and things of that nature. Very domineering, very very demonic like. But I would like to see. Mm, I'd like to see something different, or at least the idea of something different. Like for example, um, here we go. Let's leave this one up here. So I wonder if there's the possibility. Red Dice Divers. People shoveling fuel into the universal wish engine. That's exactly right. So maybe the goal is all right. Here we go. Let's decipher how the universe works. So the power of wishes comes from the universal power of transformation and change, which exists on the plane of fire. So the plane of fire we think is just fire and flame, but no, 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 no. Deeper down, it is literally the origin of creation itself. It is pure creativity. It is unleashed, um, non-physical core power that fuels the rebellious nature of humanity. For us, it's emotional. For us, it is our adrenaline. But in the plane of fire, it's pure without the physical trappings of our minds, our bodies, of the physical world, and it exists there. And the Ifrit, this entire time, have been trying to harness it and mine for it. Yeah, the fires of creation. The problem is they've never been able to use it themselves. The problem is humanity. And when I say humanity, I'm just talking about sentient races. We we have the power to touch creation and wish for things beyond ourselves, bigger, better, stronger. When we dream, our dreams themselves are that fuel, and the Afri have never really been able to to find it. So they harness it, they get the power, but they can't use it. They need a mortal to air quotes wish for that change for them. And so there's this feedback loop of the Efreet, doing very evil things because what they're trying to do is harness the power of creation. Yet those of us the furthest away from it, we have the power to control it. We've never had the ability to go get it. And so maybe the Efreet are the individuals who go, what is power? If you're a wizard, let's say you're a great wizard or something, and you're like, what is power? To literally form the kernels of creation. And maybe that's where the Efreet come from. They're beings like us that have been trying to find it, to grab it, upon it, to use it. But unfortunately, it's like, it's out of the closer I get, the further away it's out of my grasp. If I can only find a mortal, if now that I have it, if I can only find a mortal to use it for my purposes, and that would be pretty interesting. Yeah. A and Boom says that makes for an interesting power dynamic and perhaps political angle. Exactly, because on one hand, these Ifriti may have the power to destroy and control or whatever they want, but they lack the ability to do the real thing they want. So there is this the Efreet are probably frustrated themselves, which is probably why they're destructive, because on one hand, they literally want to grab a lowly zero level human being and choke the life out of them. But the lowly level human being that they find, that's the stable hand who's dreaming of a better life, that's the power they really need to control the spark of creation, which is why they give out wishes in the first place. Yeah. Red Dice says, I wonder if the power used in a wish eventually destroys the person harnessing it. So the Efreet don't want to use it directly and risk themselves, so they test it by fueling it through mortals. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I love that. And the thing is, they never want to read, like anything dangerous, no one wants anyone to read the warning label on the side of it, right? The maybe the Efreet themselves are, maybe they themselves are, whether it's a day, 101 days, 1,001 days, maybe they themselves are the victims of their own wishes going wrong. And people that have been consumed by wishes get thrown into the crucible of creation, which is the plane of fire. And some of them have been able to, at least temporarily, on an interdimensional scale, survive long enough for them to try to replace other people, to get out of the, they made the bargain of the wish, it works against them, and now they have garnered power to try to get themselves out of it. And it's this constant, like, I just need somebody. It's the Twilight Zone, right? They're trying to get somebody else. What's the Twilight Zone story? The box. If you press the button on the red box, you will gain $1 million. And the couple argues amongst themselves, but they eventually lift the cap and press the button, and they get $1 million. And the person drops off the money, and they're like, "Yay, we're rich!" And the person that drops off the money says, "Well, you better spend it quickly." And they said, "Why?" Because when you press that button, someone you didn't know died. And by the way, I'm going to take this box and I'm going to give it away to somebody else. And guess what? It's going to be somebody you don't know. So it could be that every time these wishes are done, in a free, it's like, please don't let it be me. Like, please, please don't let me get destroyed. I got to get out of this pact that I made or whatever. If I can just find a mortal to get me out of it, so that I can actually use it or something. Yeah. Red Dice, JAL says it also adds a potential threat timer. Maybe when they perfect it, the Efreet will be able to use it themselves. Right. So maybe the power of those wishes, like the player characters find out that it's not just beating the Efreet about the head and shoulders with our great superpowers as player characters, but maybe it's, oh shoot, they're gonna, if they actually are able to grab and harness the power of creation, and the power of creation could be no bigger than the size of a marble. It could be literally a singularity of pure creation, where they could literally create a world that is reflected in the way they want. And if they ever find a way to get it, that the player characters are like, oh shoot, we can't, it's not just destroying them, we need to grab it and run with it, or remove it, or extinguish it, or something like that. Ayn Voom says, going back on that political angle, on the day of elemental fire, when the portal opens, both sides send emissaries to haggle another contract for 100 years between their free and men. Yep. Who's to say that the day of has to be exactly 365 days, right? The day of could be the time when the great haggling starts. And what kind of power dynamic would it be for mortals to understand? Guess what? We can make that wish for you. We have the power. If you just do what we say, we can make the wish for you. And the Ifrit are like, yeah, but we grant the wishes in the first place. You need to do something for us. And what a strange bedfellows that both sides need the other side to accomplish a goal for them. And each time they get close, someone twists, backstabs, lies, reneges on the goal, and the PCs are like, oh shoot, someone's getting together, someone's making what was it called, like a quorum of sorts, like a political um someone somehow is garnering, getting everyone on the same page, and the player characters need to stop that person, and that person doesn't even have to have any powers. That person could just be very good at rhetoric, very good at an excellent envoy or emissary or diplomatic power. You know, Red Dice says, now I'm thinking of the universe in the necklace in Men in Black. Yep, the little universe held around the neck of the small cat. Yeah, an entire universe of potentiality. Um, Also, maybe, just maybe, the again the the plane of fire. What great strange bedfellows would it be that the other planes of existence, seemingly infinite, like the plane of air is just real peaceful, the plane of earth, maybe, yeah, maybe a little difficult for us humanoids to exist down there with heavy gravity and stone and things like that, but the plane of fire is the one that everyone just rolls their eyes. It's like it's the it's the one friend that doesn't have any self-control, that doesn't have a filter on their mouth, that doesn't have that uh action leads to behavior and everyone else hates it. And so beings that are sentient, that come from the plane of fire, everyone else is like, please ignore them, because they know that, like, the Efreet have, like, for example, maybe the Efreet have been giving power to the fire giants, giving power to the red dragons. um, they've been allowing wizards to summon fire elementals and druids to use their slash and burn techniques. Then, yep, that fiery temper that keeps happening, and everyone's like, "Don't shut up!" Like, we know you're at the table, but please keep it under control. And maybe they are, having some of that power is just like, woohoo! Like, maybe it's less. All right, let me rewind a little bit. It is just as destructive, but maybe it's less evil machinations, but more chaotic neutral. The destruction is the after effect of wanting to get people riled up to do a thing, right? We've seen. I'll use an example here. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but moved here to Ohio. And have you seen the behavior of people after their sports team either has a great win or a great loss, and all the destruction that happens afterwards? Flipping of cars, climbing up on poles, ripping off their clothes, running in the streets and stuff. Like, maybe like the beings that come from the plane of fire, like the face spirits of sorts, come about, and on one hand, they make the greatest warriors, they make the greatest party revelers, they make the greatest public speakers, right? Learn from them, get that power. Someone, your lowly stable hand beseeches one of them during the day of elemental fire, and the small little fey creature lands on the shoulder of the stable hand and like, hey, young boy, I can teach you many things. You just need to stand up. You can be a great person. Watch as I show you images in the flame and show you who you could really be, right? And then and down in the plane, like the evil planes, the abyss, the nine hells, Acheron, all these places, maybe they too are fueled by the plane of fire as well. And they've been, how do I say this? They've been stealing the fire from the plane of fire to use in the great battle. So maybe the nine hells don't naturally have fire at all. Maybe they've been stealing this flame and literally taking it in a caravan back down into the plains of fire. That would be while mechanically it probably wouldn't reveal very much. It would be pretty interesting to find out that, like, when we think of fiends, yeah, if free on tour, yeah, maybe that fire that quenches and destroys, maybe people have been stealing it and getting it from the plane of fire. Yeah. Red Dice says the people escaping from the furnace of creation could be a good alternate origin for fire genasi. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's just that when they come to the prime material plane, the rest of the elements blend together so that for us, a human or humanoid born with great energy is a regular thing. But the closer you get to the plane of fire, the more crazy they are. Their simple footsteps, there's the breath that they take, the words they say can destroy things when they walk. Imagine someone lit on fire, and behind them they're leaving destruction, but they don't know it. It's just a normal thing for them. Red Dice says, now I'm imagining a load of a free spilling out of a portal chanting, lads, 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 yeah, hell yeah. Oh yes, hoorah! Right? And out there having, like, just on tour, going like, come on, everybody, you join with us on the day of elemental fire. Maybe they don't want to be destructive. It's just a side effect of their behavior. Um, it could also be very, very enticing, right? From afar during the rest of the year, where it's like, fire burns cities down, that's destructive. But then on the day of elemental fire, people go, it's destructive, but have you seen the regime that's taken over the country? Maybe we need a change. Maybe we need something different. Maybe today is the day when the inhibitions that people have in polite society, maybe they go off a little bit. And every time, let's say, the knighthood is like, no, we shouldn't listen to what the people say. Maybe we should go on that killing spree to get rid of the goblinoids, right? That treaty that we signed with them. Maybe maybe they're not prepared for us. We could wipe them out now. And then all of a sudden, there's this like, ooh, okay, we can recruit them down here to help us stoke these flames. Uh, what's another idea? Oh, um, talking about the forge of creation and the forges of creating magic items, like forging great swords and weapons and armor and things of that nature. Maybe here's a very non-Euclidean idea. Maybe the very strange and bizarre dreams made reality are forged with the power in the plane of fire to become real in the prime material plane or any other plane. So an example would be um, the 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 castle that floats on the island that shouldn't exist at all, that floats in the air, is literally forged with ideas. So dreams and ideas are literally put in, like, puzzle pieced together within these forges of creation to then be transported to other places. And that's how we get fantasy realms and physical locations and certain types of magic items and monsters um, that come out of the ashes to be reborn. And so it's not a physical one-on-one. A piece of metal is then hammered into a sword. It is the a non-formed thought is stretched and pulled and sliced. And I mean, yes, you could have people dressed in like fire protective gear, but they're literally taking an idea and stretching it and forming it for then an individual to then take that idea back. But of course, they owe a favor, or they have to perform a duty, or it's a safe haven for the Efreet in the first place to be in the prime material plane or the other planes of existence, which might also be a reason why, like, how, if there are all these outer world beings and it's very difficult to go from plane to plane, how do they get here? Well, maybe it's because they keep making these deals on their this one day where the membrane's thin for them to get a yet another foothold into reality. Red Dice Diaries things says, I think it could be entertaining to have Ifrit who don't realize quite how destructive they are on the prime material plane, since everything is on fire already on their home plane. Yeah, absolutely. A being that has flame for hair and a flaming, a sword that is glowing red, like this image to my left, that is glowing red because it has literally the internal heat of a furnace or a forge and such. Maybe they're just, they go to sit down. They're there with their entourage and they're having a conversation with the PCs, and the forest starts to light on fire. And to them, they don't. I mean, a forest on fire is actually kind of comfortable. They didn't do it on purpose, and the player characters they could be emissaries themselves, trying to put out all the fires from the Efreet who's here just to make a deal, and then the player characters are like fighting elementals, they're fighting salamanders, they're trying to extinguish the flames of these things just because the Efreet just happens to be here, just on a normal diplomatic meeting. Um, they're looking at the PCs like, what are you doing? Well, we're trying to harness the power. We're trying to focus the liquid from the river to douse all the flames. And the Efreet is like, why would you do that? That's kind of rude, don't you think? And the PCs are like, not here. Here, you're pure destruction. Home, it might be normal, right? Um, yeah, they may bring with them, when the portal opens up, they may bring with them very dangerous things without anybody else knowing it, which would be kind of cool. Or what if the power of like the player character, of course you have one player has to be a pyromancer, right? We've all got that person in our groups. What if all the origin of every arcane fire anywhere has all been from the plane of fire for any reason? Hellhounds, plane of fire. Red dragons or fire breathing dragons, plane of fire. Um, that fire that's in the chest of that iron golem, plane of fire. That fireball, that burning hand spell, that sacred flame spell, all of it has always come from plane of fire. And maybe they're free to kind of pissed off about it. Like, okay, listen, I get it. You know, 5,000 times a day, I'm getting tickets because people are placing orders for extra fireballs. And you know what? What do we get out of this? Great, you guys are coming here, stealing power, and we're the ones keeping the fires stoked. So maybe it's your fault using that damn fireball spell you use 5 times a day multiplied by all humanity, right? Maybe it's your fault that we need the slaves to keep the fires going. So don't blame us. It's kind of your fault to do that. That would be pretty funny to find something like that out. Now, as far as mission ideas, again, maybe rescue mission, getting people out from the furnaces, finding out that the players strange bedfellows. So an example would be that the players they find out that the Efreet really aren't as purposefully and evilly destructive as they once thought. And so that now they are on the side of the Efreet to accomplish a mission, but the rest of society thinks the player characters have turned sides, right? So it's less yeah, I feel sorry for the Efreet sat on the fire technical support desk. Damn it, another request for a fireball. Like the little tickets coming out. They've got the classic little hand stamp, like fireball, boom. Hey, they're like mumbling under their breath. You're only getting 66 damage, 68 damage or whatever. Not 8d6 this time, 6. I'm keeping the other 2d6 for myself. Damn it. Why don't I have fireball spell anymore? Well, the Efreet at the technical desk went to lunch. Sorry. But yeah, maybe the players, like, could you imagine what society would think if a fire elemental was supposed to run rampant over a region of the world to set it on fire, and the player characters are trying to defend it because they know that's what needs to happen, but the rest of society is like, you're on their side, and the PCs are like, you don't understand, it's hard to explain, it's the creation of it's the fires of creation thing, calm down. um it could also be that on this thinning of the membrane of today, that when a player character goes to use their arcane power of fire and flame, that they are also accidentally, not accidentally, they understand on this specific day, the portal, the fire you're reaching in towards is reaching back at you, and so maybe something steps through, or the fire is actually drawing something out of the player characters. Maybe they're the heat from their body, their physical life force, or maybe it keeps ramping up. Oh, write down 1 point, and the player character's like, why? No, don't. I'm the DM. Don't worry about it. Roll a d10. I rolled a 3. Okay, great. You haven't been drawn to the plane of fire. And we're like, what? Oh yeah, you. This is your third fire spell. Write down the number 3. Roll a d10, and try not to roll a 1, 2, or 3. Because if you do, I don't know, a fire elemental steps out and tries to consume you, or you get drawn towards the city of brass to have to escape all over again, or something like that, right? It might be on this specific day that thing happens, and it's like, oh no, we got to be careful. Red Dice says, now I'm imagining a wizard trying to cast fireball during a busy time and getting a "your call is important to us, please hold" message. Yeah, yeah. Hey, your call will be answered in the order in which it is received. Please hold. Or you can leave your arcane hotline number. Please leave your 18-digit arcane hotline number at and we will get back with you in just a moment. The wizards will open up their spell book like, damn it. A uh, a a rendition of the call is written in the blank pages of their book, when it's like, your call will be answered in the order in which it's received, but you see it written in like that very cursive old English like style language with the ink and stuff, and the PC's like, damn it, slam the book shut, like, oh, I hate waiting on this. Why do they keep the call goes to another plane of existence, and they're just like, why do they keep sending my calls to another plane of existence? Oh man, plane of Earth is like, yes, may I help you? I need a fireball. Sorry, all I have is, let's see. Would you take a petrification or a wall of stone? Oh, we've got stone to mud if you'd like to borrow that. Oh man, Drew says, I hope that my head will tomorrow no longer be on fire. Ugh, the migraines, yeah. So that I can participate then again. However, I already know I cannot make it on Friday due to an appointment. Oh, you don't did what? You don't have to apologize for anything like that. The Friday's kind of my day where I get to talk about my sci-fi world, as it were. So that's for me. We're going to end up coming to Earth. Slight hint, It's called the I'm calling it the Day of Terra, but as you know, I like to Earth is people don't know. Very few people actually live on the Earth, solid ground on Earth in my sci-fi world. It's an aquatic world now, aquatic, aerial, that kind of thing, orbital, but very few people. Yeah, yep, no problem, guys. But yeah, I don't know. I think we came up with some pretty fun ideas. I mean, if we really think about it, right, like the plane of fire, and we stretch our imaginations. Like for example, talking about the city of brass and what it means um, within the greater context of fantasy and such. I can imagine that like the city of brass may need to exist because um, the city of brass could be built around the fires of creation, and it was designed to this is this makes the Ifrit a bit of a superhero of the hero of the story. If there wasn't, if the city of brass that was built around it as a container did not exist, the fires of creation would have run wild, and essentially it came about because the power of the wish itself was available to anything and everyone, both consciously or more dangerously subconsciously. So the Ifrit have been maybe tasked with doing it, much like yes, I'm like many people, I'm stealing, borrowing, and referencing Game of Thrones, but much like um, the ravens that sit on the Great Wall, the Night's Watch. Maybe the Ifrit were originally like the sacrificial heroes. We'll go there, we'll contain it, we'll make sure we place it over here, we'll make sure it doesn't infect anything else. It's just great power, and so this became part of the elemental powers of everything else. Like for example, the plane of fire could be the fires of creation. The plane of air could be the language and ideas. The plane of earth is the physical, is are the building blocks of creation. The plane of water could be the one that erodes or shapes or cools down the creation to forge what it is, which is why the prime material plane exists. But maybe once the prime material was plane was formed by the other gods, the deities themselves, maybe that's why the Ifrit aren't gods. They were just agents. Listen, you go over here, make sure you keep the flames of creation going, but also you might have to stay there a while. Keep it under control. We'll be right back. And they just never came back. And the Ifrit are like pissed off. Like, wait, well, wait a minute. We've been doing this thing. We've been doing this the entire time, and you haven't thanked us. You haven't like we can't be here forever, right? We can't keep stoking this, and so maybe they're kind of taking turns or trying to replace themselves. Like, oh yeah, hey mortal, you could be power like us, even though they're just like, I'm trying to get the hell up out of here. Red Dice says, I like that there's a city of brass on the fire plane. Could be cool if there were other metal cities appropriate to other elemental planes and demi-planes. Like maybe there's a silver city on the plane of air. Yeah, I mean, why not? Why, like, okay. Um, Side note, sometimes we as very brilliant and creative people in the tabletop role playing world, sometimes we over canonize a thing. So we know through mythology and gaming that there's a city of brass, but why is there exceptionalism on that? Why wouldn't there be other metallic ore based cities based around the same concept? So in the city of air, maybe there is a city of silver, or city of mercury would be in this plane of water, or the city of steel, iron, ore, titanium, adamantite, right on the plane in the center of the plane of earth. Yeah, yeah, metal cities would be there, and maybe those cities exist. From the outside we look at it as cities created simply for the egotistical reasons. the city of brass. And the city of brass could be non-Euclidean, right? It doesn't have to be a flat plane. It could be an orb. It could be a city that faces both up and down. It could be the city could literally look like a forge or a bowl or whatever case. It could be any matter of fact, it could be all of those things all linked together. Instead of bridges, they're just giant chains so big that humans player characters could actually like walk on the chains from one city to another. Yeah, a mithril city in a plane of Celestia. Yep, hell yeah. And the metallic cities are both, yes, they are built as testaments to, say, my arrogance if I was one of the beings that lived on those places, but also maybe they're necessary. They're fueled by the plane of fire, fueled by creation, um, unfettered creation. On the plane of air, it's fueled by imagination, language, communication. We yesterday we The other day we talked about the plane of air, of it being both vacuum and sound. It could be something. It could just simply be the dreams, right? Each city has like not each city. Each plane of existence has a metallic city of sorts that is thematic, that was created or built as a cage, a tomb, a forge, a a Faraday cage for something that exists in the different planes of existence. And there's both a an honor to be there and be part of it, to harness it, control it, keep it under control. There may be a punishment. You're forced to work here to contain it, control it, keep it out of the hands of other people. It could be a type of duty. I'm proud to be here. It could be power. Because I'm here, I can tap into it. Um, that kind of thing. One-eyed heathen says, "Love the idea of walking on chains, fighting on the chains across a strange forge city. Hell yeah!" You know, the chain's so big that like the player characters can literally like walk on top of or climb in between the chains and such. Maybe they're like mechanized spiders that walk along the chains because the chains get old, they start to get brittle and maybe start to break a little bit, and they come along and use their faceted eyes like lasers to melt the metal and ore down to keep the chains alighted. But and they may not even see the PCs as enemies. They might just think of them as like, "Oh, we got to get rid of it." The spiders are mechanical. They don't even have a brain. They're just like moving along, and they see the PCs, and maybe they just try to like laser them or snatch them up and stick them into like a beetle like carapace on their back to get rid of the thing. They kind of um, invading the city because they think that it's just a it's like something to scrape off the metal or whatever, right? Oh, it's like rust. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Yeah, Red Dice says, yeah. Since the various Jin are sort of similar, it'd be cool to have their dwellings reflect that. Maybe they were all once one race that got split. Yeah, I could see that. Or were spirits of the land like elves or fae and got split. Yep. Over time, yeah, maybe they have a we the secret was they were just regular people just like everybody else that got pulled in, or um the, the Efreet and the Jinn and other creatures, maybe they were the knights of old that basically closed the portals off of the elemental powers to say, you know what, hey guys, the nine of us knights, we're just going to have to go off, close the portal off, keep the seed of creation away from everybody, and just do, like, that's our duty to do this thing. And they all look at each other, they bow to each other, put their swords away, and they go, yep. And back in the day, it was just a small, um, it could be carried by two people, right? A big, a container of sorts with a simple ember on the inside of it. Not much more than the size of a fist, But today it's an entire plane of existence. Back in the day, they just walked off into the darkness with a single pinpoint of light. But today, wow, it's like, oh no. Yeah. Yeah, fighting on giant chains could be an interesting environment. I love it. If they're singing and you're getting to keep your footing whilst fighting. Yeah. Oh, the party could be hired to figure out why a city is rusting and stop it. Oh, like why would the city of brass need the PCs? Hey guys, listen, it's starting to corrode. We don't know why, and we need your help. Like maybe there's an Efreet that's basically admit their weakness. Like, listen, we need you, and the PCs are like, you came here to get slaves and blah blah blah. And they're like, I know. Listen. Here's the deal. We need you to save the city because if we don't, all the other Efreet, all the other ones that you think are bad, you think I'm bad? My fellows, the ladies back there, everybody else, they're worse than I am. Hell, we've had a treaty with the Nine Hells for a couple of millennia now. And yeah, if it wasn't for us keeping it under control, they would have got out of control too. Yeah, like the Jin can't figure out why their city is rusting because it's from the material, and the party members are promised wishes in return for the deed. Yeah. Listen, we'll trade you if you can figure out why it's like rusting out, corroding, melting away, or something. We'll trade you a wish, and they're just like, what, a wish? And although I can imagine, okay, this isn't a power that the Efreet have at all, or Jin or whatever. But what if they have the one power? Yeah, better the Efreet you know than the one you don't. What if them and their agents have always had the power to be immune to any wish ever created? So they are, for good or bad, they're the agents of creation, and the Jinn are the positive creation, right? They protect dreams and creativity, music, language. But the Efreet are the destructive ones, and the Efreet have been going around like, listen, um, every time somebody makes one of these dumbass wishes that's just going to ruin reality, it's our job to go out there and burn it to the ground. It's our job to take it, destroy it, deconstruct it, bring it back, throw it back into the forges of creation because we're the ones that have been stopping. We're literally the ones that have stopped wizards and other powers with wishes getting out of control. That's why do maybe they explain like, listen, that's why we have such strict rules about making wishes in the first place. It's because you guys don't know how to control it, and it's up to us. And it's a shame because if it was up to us, we would have the power of the wishes and we would make better decisions. But you guys have been ruining it for everybody. And damn it, if you Jin haven't stopped making these people dream, these far-flung dreams, yeah. What if you found out your campaign world out? Hey, kitty. Yeah, the cat knows that it's been an hour. Might be that mortals are no longer making wishes, causing the city, their reality construct to rust. Yes, it could be that the city only existed because of the wishes being made and humanity's dreams. Ooh, some powerful. I'm just making this up. Powerful lich, vampire lord, doesn't matter. Something powerful comes about and crushes the dreams of humanity, and no one's making wishes. No one wishes for a different world. Like their literal hope has been taken from them, and the Efreet are like, "Oh no! We need to bring hope back into the world because we need that power to fuel our forges of wishing." So that people even desire to wish. It's not that the wish comes true. We just need people to wish for wishes. I don't know if that's a power, but that would be fun. Or what if mortals making too many wishes is making the city rust? Like they are pulling the energy out of it for all the wishes. Now I like the opposite of that too. Yeah, the technical desk is like, I can't keep up. They're making too many wishes. And the Jin won't help us out. They got their head in the clouds. Oh man. Red Dice Diary says, what if you found out your campaign world and its history only came into existence as a result of a wish about a day ago. Wow. But paradoxically, it was wished to always have existed. Yeah, the never ending, yeah, never ending story. I blame it on Atreyu. Wow. Yeah. What if you found out your campaign world? Damn. So, wow. So, all the things in it, all the history, all of the, yeah, all of the, it only came about because of it just so happens to have happened. And the Efreet, the PCs are like, we've got to stop the Efreet. And the Efreet is like, dude, our forges are keeping your game, your literal whole campaign world in existence today. And it's only been a day. They're like, what? Yeah, we have the ticket right here. Well, you don't have to be that silly, but yeah, maybe the ticket, the tech ticket is like a brass plate where the wish is written in like runes or glyphs or something, whatever, right? And it's like etched into it. That's fun. I blame Atreyu. Yeah. And that would be very. What if you found out the person who literally created the entire campaign world was a writer? Maybe somebody even less than, maybe that stable hand or something that exists in the world, some zero level, so air quotes nobody that existed in that world, who a young lady that told stories to her child to put him to sleep and such, and was given this one power to create a whole imaginary world that exists for the enjoyment of their kids, and they exist in this world. Yeah. Red Dice says, yeah, imagine if defeating the Efreet reverses their wishes. Wow. That's awesome. I love it. Oh, and who's to say that 1,000 other campaign worlds have not existed prior to this day because of the forges of the Efreet. And the Efreet, to them, they're just like, there's going to be somebody else who's going to want to make an entire world. We just keep the fires. We keep the fire going to keep your campaign world going, but there's going to be somebody else. It's just up to you guys. Do you want it replaced or whatever? And what if the entire, could you, question for anybody who's come to this, and I ask you this, do you think you yourself personally, or do you think the players that you play with, or your game master, storyteller, flame tender, dungeon master, would you accept the fact that all the player characters created for your world, all the characters that you've created still exist, but the entire campaign world changes? The physics of it, the monsters in it, the landscape, new maps, new time scale. You remember the old world, but the new world, no one else remembers it. Only you. I wonder if anybody would be willing to do that. What a great way to literally restart a campaign. New maps, new worlds, new enemies, new everything, but the characters are still the same. That would be kind of sweet. And given the right circumstances, they could even bring back their old world. And when their old world comes back, it's as if nothing ever happened. That would be awesome. A contract signed in blood, the brass place idea is better. And the person signs it with a drop of blood that fills in the etchings, and that is how they know it's signed. Yeah, I love that. I love that. The drop of blood falls down on the brass contract, and it just fills in the groove slowly. I'm imagining the opening scene of like a Game of Thrones kind of thing, where it's just like you just see the 3D, the blood starts, and it's like sizzling a little bit, right? And it's like filling it, and it gets all the way to the end, and it gets to the end and stuff, and it's like, and like, yep, yeah. Or your characters would have to make choices: live the rest of your life with money and power, or save the world and be a pauper in a society with no upward mobility. That is sweet. All the player characters are just homeless nobodies. I remember a time when. Go away from me, old man. You speak craziness. No, the world was different. It was different yesterday. Yeah, love it. A bit of like text appearing if you drop blood on the Necronomicon or other occult text. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. It would be interesting to have characters have to uncover or discover the wishes they made and must undo. Ooh, the characters made wishes and they don't remember the ones they made. They don't remember. Maybe the PCs were a hair's breadth away from the gods of this world. Literally, the player characters created the pantheons. They created everything whole cloth and they don't even remember. Yeah, a new world I would probably introduce with a full stop encounter so everyone knows things have changed, truly changed, and they might need completely new tactics. I love that. And people who do one trick pony characters will get mad. Sorry, your pole master, I don't know, your dual wielding pole master doesn't work anymore. Sorry. Lastly, imagine if the forge was more like a mechanical computer and the brass plaques are like old program punch cards into it. Oh yeah, hell's yes. Yeah, I love it. I love it. The Efreet are just like office workers. We think the Efreet are badass, but the Efreet are like, all right, now that you put your blood in, okay, thank you for signing this. And and they put it on a rack and you see like thousands of these things and the PCs are like, what the hell? Yeah, that would be fun. That would be sweet. I wish to be a prince. Kazam, you are now a prince born and raised. No memory of being someone else who's made a wish. Yep. Yep. I love it. I love it so much there. Oh shit! Oh guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. Thank you very much for this day of the elemental fire. I think we've gone. I've first of all, I've spent your time is valuable. Thank you for spending it here. I hope though that by you dropping money with your time is money, but I hope I can make change for you. I know that's kind of corny, but I love it anyway. Yeah, yeah. But guys, have a great. Ooh, yeah. Hand player a new sheet. Yep. Hey, guess what? New sheet. Oh no, you have all your memories. You're somebody completely different. Yeah, yeah. And heck, what if that happens in the next game? They have NPCs that have a whole life with them, but the player character doesn't even remember it. But the NPCs do. They're like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" You know what? I play in that game too. I play in that. I'd absolutely play in that game. New character, new sheet, whatever. And like I said, maybe you can bring back the old world. That would be sweet. Yeah, great check. Everybody, thank you. By the way, I don't know if I've said this. You kind of need to go over to Red Dice Diaries and listen to the podcast. Um, like, share, and subscribe that channel over there. Please do that if for no other reason. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it here. Um, mm, 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 mm. Let's see here, and let's. Mm, 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 mm. Oops, Chrome tab. I want to share that out. So, if you guys don't know, here we go. Come on, share. Yes, you dumb DBJ Luddite. If you type in Red Dice Diaries, this is what you kind of get. And go there and visit it. And please, please, please participate. A paladin returns to being a cruel warlord with a horribly guilty conscience. I love that. Another time, I will have to tell y'all the tale of how one wish almost destroyed an entire campaign, but also I made it epic and unforgettable. That's so sweet. Yeah. In time, which good night, good morning. It's been a fantastic one, guys. Have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. If you've been here this long enough, please do the thing. Like, share, subscribe, um, share out, become notified, follow on Twitch if that's your thing, whatever. Do that, and then if you can, The show goes live Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. So if you can be a co-host like everyone else, One-Eyed Heathen and Voom and Drew, who isn't here right now and suffering a little bit, but always brings the best and brightest. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Have a great one. Thank you for spending your time here. I will see thee tomorrow. Peace and prosperity.